spoilers on Xmen 97 and Digimon Tri. So if you're curious, go and watch these shows first. Thank you. Howdy everyone, Metal here. Have you all ever had this little hyperfixation in your lives? Whether it be a movie, a comic, manga, or even a TV show perhaps? Well, let's just say that I love Xmen 97. I love the X-Men as a little kid, and I still love them to this day. I love Cyclops, Storm, Nightcrawler, shout out to Uncanny Spider-Man, and even good old Wolverine. I love 97 so much. This show really cemented my love for comics and my love for superheroes in general, in all honesty, which has honestly been my current hyperfixation as of late due to personal reasons. But hey, let's not linger on that until the end. What I want to do today is tell you all that I love this show so much that it reminds me how good soft reboots can be. Well, technically this isn't a soft reboot, it's a successor and sequels. It's kind of in a weird gray area, but you get what I mean. This show is the best when it comes to coherent and not annoying love triangles, and it was able to make the characters, as small as Nightcrawler, stand out for the best possible scenes that it has to offer. Literally, Nightcrawler reuniting with his sister is so darn wholesome. I love him and Rogue's banter with each other. I love it so much. Say, speaking of, have y'all ever heard of Digimon? Digimon is kind of a niche series, in my opinion. Not as niche as in, oh my god, how come nobody knows about this thing? But more so, people know about it, but they don't talk about it as much as they do with Pokemon. And that really bothers me. Anywho, relatively speaking, I really like the creature designs and the vast amount of characters, and even the storylines that many animes have created to spin this little series into. Whether it be for kids with nice lessons and cool little story arcs, to dark and depressing. Oh yeah, this ain't really Pokemon, and it really shows. Because unlike Pokemon, which kinda briefly touches upon dark subject matter and doesn't really allude on it for too long, Digimon, on the other hand, is the complete... It's like if they take the dark subject matter from Pokemon and really expand upon it. Like those text boxes from the Pokedex, just full-blown episodes. And honestly, playing through Cyber Sleuth for the first time, it definitely feels like that to me. Probably is different to you though, so I don't really mind that. Speaking of Cyber Sleuth, I played that game to death, all the way to completion, and I watched the best Digimon show, Digimon Tamers, from beginning to end, subbed and dubbed. And before any of you ask, Jessmon is my favorite Digimon, along with other honorable mentions. Man, I sure do love me some digital creatures. Also, mutants and superheroes in general. Wait, what? What's that noise? Wait, what is that straight? Oh, yeah. Oh, my head. Digimon also had a soft reboot too, didn't it? Oh boy.
You come across an evil tree.
You again? Hello, everybody.
By yourself, you're in trouble. But if there were 10 of you...
Digimon Try, quoting from the synopsis from IMDb. After years of inactivity, the Digidestined regroup with their Digimon to save their world, but have the years changed their characters too much? End quote. And that was only from the first movie synopsis. I bet most of you have not seen this series of episodes and movies. It's kind of unclear, but if you like or dislike Xmen 97 or Try, then I won't hold that against you. And if you like or dislike either, even if you hate Try, I won't be bashing on Try. Because I have a lot to say about both these shows in particular. Don't expect me to hold back either, too. So without further ado, when watching Xmen 97, I noticed something. This show and Try are fairly similar. One has the characters grow and mature from their OG series in order to tell new and fairly interesting stories that might impact them in their future, as well as the other having a more nuanced take of growing up and moving past nostalgia in a way, kind of. By the way, both OG Digimon and X-Men the Animated Series rock. My god, they rock. I watched both of them and loved them so much. Oh my god, 9 out of 10 for both shows. Anywho, let's start on X-Men 97. From the first 3 episodes, I realized that I was going to love this show so much. The animation is fluid and more exciting than even the OG series' animation. The characters go through many arcs throughout the show, and it gives way for many frantic storylines straight from the comics, and arguably, from my perspective, a bit better? And the voice acting, the voice acting is superb. The OG cast is great, the new cast is great. And there's a reason for this. It's because they've never changed the characters' personality from the OG series. Remember this for later. Cyclops is still headstrong, flawed, and willing to make some questionable choices to figure his life out. Jean is a very flawed person, and honestly, her and Cyclops' relationship is honestly one of the most devastating relationships that I've ever seen. I don't know what it's like that much in the comics, but if it's as dysfunctional as this, then wow. Wolverine is still hot-tempered and a cool character to really see in action. And he's so funny in this show. I love him. The characters just seem so nice and so caring towards each other, and they truly want the best for each and every one of them and their goals, with some conflicts and arguments that feel in character instead of growing into a team of jerks that hate one another. I'm looking at you, Dark Phoenix. I'm literally looking at your general direction, X-Men movies. Literally looking at you, Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm literally looking at all of you. Not you, Logan. Logan is cool. Deadpool also. And Storm is a goddess. Oh, she can command the very wind within her fingertips, and she has a sisterly bond with Jean in this show, and they showcase the best for each other. My god, is this so good. And Magneto. Wow, my god, Magneto. His character experiences human trauma from World War II, and his disdain for humans amplifying after giving him multiple chances for redemption is so soul-crushing. One of the best villains in Marvel to date, even after the movie showed off how cool he is. Heck, even Mr. Sinister, a more boring villain in my eyes in the comics, to how overplayed and boring he was in the Deadpool game, as well as the comics, and sometimes really just didn't really do anything interesting that much, even in the original series, apart from a few episodes that I can remember. They honestly redeemed Mr. Sinister for me in this show, and he's really cool and actually quite interesting in the series because it expands upon what he wants and what he ultimately kind of wins and gets in the end. And forcing Cyclops to break up with Madeline due to his conflict with her being a clone, and him mind-controlling Madeline in the end, and him splitting off with Jean, and having Cyclops interfere with Jean's whole ordeal. Oh, it's great. It's great. I love Sinister now. His voice is just so cool too. Props to the voice actor, Chris Britton, for making him so villainous and memorable. And from what I have researched, he is a veteran Marvel voice actor too, so props to you, dude. And lastly, the characters just work so well with each other because X-Men comics are basically a soap opera of sorts. Well, kind of. Not CW-esque soap operas where it just lasts to 40 minutes with no payoff and then it just restarts in the next episode. No, none of that. But it's more in line with how real these characters feel at times and how many of the X-Men just get with each other and personal dramas are at stake and isn't as played out as the CW's drama. Honestly, their version of a soap opera in this show is better illustrated in animation because most sitcoms don't really have the benefit of the pacing as like animation, since they have to set up their storylines slowly and make sure that it reverts back into the next episode, but not really. Honestly, I don't even know why sitcoms do that, but regardless, the love triangles are genuinely great and interesting, and the character dynamics are really cool too, and oh, Gambit, my sweet summer child. Oh. That leads me to try.
Can I come in your room? We had a little laugh.
Where to start? Thankfully, Digimon Try is not a soap opera. But for some reason, I feel as if that it didn't reach the same heights as the OG Digimon series. We'll get to that in a few, but let's start with what I liked about it as well as the presentation. Yeah, this anime looks really, really pretty. I think it still holds up even after a full decade after its release. No complaints here other than some stilt scenes here and there, a bit stilted, a bit clunky, but it's not a big deal. It still looks pretty. And, well, I don't blame the animators due to how conflicting the behind-the-scenes stuff were. The voice actors did a really great job, though, as well, both the English and Japanese. I think they bring a lot more nuance in Try and Last Evolution than they, well, ever did in the OG series. As for the characters, I actually really like them. With some odd exceptions. The OG series had a very simple characteristic for all of the cast. Tai is the leader, and he is the bravest and sometimes selfish one. Sora is the caring and very capable one that cares for her friends, and Joe is the best thing ever. We all stand Joe in this channel. He's amazing. He is essentially the serious straight man of the group that acts reasonable in the face of danger. Really funny. But unlike X-Men 97, where the characters grow and mature to deal with situations out of their control throughout the season organically, it feels like Try took the simple personalities from the OG series and just made them into irrational teenagers at times. I don't feel annoyed watching Digimon Try, just kind of confused at their actions at times. Doesn't really make any sense. Like, Tai turned from a brave kid that just wanted to be the best to blaming his friends for bringing in danger towards just innocent people at the worst possible times, while dismissing his friend Trollmon, one of his closest friends in the digital world. What? This series just kind of brush off Trollmon in favor of Leomon, and they don't really explain what the heck happened to him, and that's going to be a running theme for this series. But hey, we got Leomon. Leomon's still here, and he's just as cool as ever, even though they don't really explain how he got back to his original form, even though he's supposed to be in a different form entirely. Anyway, Matt is the more reasonable one in this show, and the rivalry in this show, well, it felt like that it kind of dragged on a bit, because it just kind of felt like the same type of deal, like, oh, I'm Matt, Tai, why are you acting so irrational? Why don't you listen and help us, and stop being all soppy and all sappy and all that junk. That's literally Matt whenever he talks to Tai. Like, I'm not making this up. They didn't feel like that they mature at all in this show until the second to last movie. And still, Tai still acts distant in the finale for some reason. Because they made him into a teenager doesn't mean that they should act selfish. I mean, OG Tai was selfish, but he grew out of it in the original series, so why is he acting so selfish in... Okay. Alright. I guess it's because he's trying to, learn from his mistakes and not repeat them as a kid, but he looked fine in O2. He looked like a mature adult as a normal kid in O2 than what he does in this series. Don't even get me started on how the Digimon are kind of sidelined in this show. Look, not all teenagers act selfish. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe is barely in this series from what I've seen because he wants to act more like an adult, but completely switches his personality when his partner evolves into Vikemon? I just think that they didn't have time to develop his character until the second to last movie. This series mostly focuses on Tai a lot, as well as his family, taking the spotlight away from TK and the rest of the cast, where I actually really liked TK in the show, and it's like if 97 made the new season all about Logan again, but thank God, because all of the X-Men get dual screen time, in my opinion, and they get a balanced amount of screen time so that nobody is less focused upon. Meanwhile, in Tai, Matt, and Mako are the most... They have the most screen time out of all the characters, which it does sound hyperbolic coming from me, but anywho, I haven't even talked about the story for Try, have I? I really do not want to get into that can of worms, but... So let's take a break first. Let's just take a break. Back to 97, and let's talk about 97's story. In all honesty, 97's story does get a bit, cumbersome with its comic storylines being put together, and some may point out that they do feel out of place at times. But in all honesty, I love X-Men 97's story. It honestly feels like to me that we're reading a comic book with that show. Enough said. It does go a bit too fast in places like Storm's side plot. She should have had an episode dedicated to her struggles and stuff, which we kinda do get. But it's not as egregious, in my opinion, as to what Try frickin' does. Because 97 follows the end of the OG X-Men series and continues it by having Magneto become the leader for a time. And they make Genosha. Oh, no. Oh, dear Lord, the humanity. Oh. God, I still am shocked to this day that they made that Genosha episode. Dear Lord. Honestly, this show really does showcases its slower moments really well. Like, they're not too slow as to drift away from the action. And even Storm's subplot being the weakest, it honestly still isn't bad because she goes through an arc. All of the characters go through arcs in this show, man. Look, after one of the best episodes in Marvel animation history, you gotta realize that a lot has happened, you know? Magneto goes bad once again afterwards, and Mr. Sinister and Bastion are probably one of the best villains that I've ever seen in a Marvel animated property. Bastion wants to create Prime Sentinels in order to replace humanity to further their ideal future, and I love it, 10 out of 10. This is a fairly simple plot. And Bastion is probably one of the best comic book villains that I've ever seen in a long time. Heck, I didn't even know who he was until this season showed me how freaking terrifying he can be, man. We really see how he changes up the Marvel Universe. And we even get to see how much of a threat that they become, man. I love it. And it's simply because of the mystery surrounding what happened to Genosha lingers on and makes you really second guess yourself on who it is. Like, is it Mr. Sinister? Is it the Sentinels going rogue? Master Mold even? Well, no. It was Bastion all along. Man, this was a better twist than Agatha all along, man. Anyway. And when Bastion and the X-Men are soon to be progressing the story, it comes at the right time because they already get the answers like what we, the audience, get. Leaving the viewer to say, oh, Shinx, this is happening. I love how Gambit has a worthwhile sacrifice that has a great effect on the story. And Rogue as a character, becoming her villainous self afterwards is just so very clever. So very clever because you get to know why Rogue would become sort of evil. Not evil, just upset. It's beautiful.
Oh, you wanna go? It says you wanna go. You wanna go? Yeah, okay, you want the smoke? Let's go.
Back to Digimon Try. I will admit the story in Try is actually not that bad. It sets up a mystery and leaves you waiting and wanting more. And I think it does a great job building onto it until the latter half of the series sets in, where they actually explain why everything is happening. I will say this, the beginning of Try is actually really well done. I really like the beginning of Try, and I really like how the characters do have equal amount of screen time during the beginning. But in the latter half, it just kind of fumbles for me, sadly. Because by execution, I don't think they did a great job bringing in new things to the table to warrant the mystery. Which the reveal is soon to be very dragged on, and in my opinion, it felt kind of underbaked and kind of vague and out of nowhere. But mostly vague, really. So, where to start with the story? You might want to sit down and strap yourself in for this one, because it's gonna be bumpy. The Digidestins grew up, so their digital partners also just remained the same and found them after the world is in danger. Both their worlds are. They regained their love for Digimon and stopped a virus Digimon that is causing all sorts of hoo-ha in the digital world, and causing Digimon, including Imperial Dramon? Imperial Dramon. I'm just gonna question this right when we get to it, but where's the O2 cast? Anyway, to attack the game, I'm gonna demonstrate what this series does when the story just happens. Oh man, I hate my school, my life, and Matt, especially Matt. Oh no, I'm just gonna take care of that. Because the people, the buildings, no more destruction. Oh, Ty, get off your fat butt and help us, you loner. Whatever. Our Digimon is gonna destroy stuff though. Proceeds to help out anyway. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. Frick all y'all. To be continued. Not to say that it just focuses on just Ty, but most of the characters I think are really well done. This regarding Ty, and in all honesty, I really like the characters in Try. I really do. I feel like whenever they do get the spotlight, they are acting like they're themselves and stuff, like Sora and even Kari, trying to help out Birdmon, and also Kari being tied to the digital world is also fun to watch too, since it's very much in continuity. I love continuity in media, man, and this series does a really good job of continuity. Well, kind of. But it does still. It does at a lot of important moments, but we'll get to it. Honestly, Sora trying to help out Birdmon remembered them and their friendship as they go to the digital world was really heartbreaking for me. And I really wanted Sora and Birdmon to finally get together. And when they actually get together, and she finally remembers who she was, I loved it. It was really nice. Also, I love how the story pertains to their arcs, from how the original series does it and how the Digimon digi-evolves whenever they grow past their arcs and mature. And honestly, I feel like that they did a really good job of that. And instead of transforming into their normal forms all the time, it gives us a variety of cool creature design too. As well as the cast finally getting mega evolutions. Finally. It's not just Matt and Ty. I'm actually really happy that Try gave everybody a mega evolution. I'm honestly very happy about that. And if any of you are wondering, my personal favorite is Hercules Kabuterimon. Also, Mimi and Iggy's relationship is actually really unique, to be honest. And I like how he has a crush on her, too. It doesn't get that much time to breathe or have much screen time or followed up on, but I like their interactions. A lot of the characters just don't really have the time to really expand upon what they're going through compared to Xmen 97. And I feel like that's the biggest problem with Try for me. None of the characters just feel like that they're breathed into the story. And to follow up on the story, at this point in time, corrupted Digimon are found corrupting the real world and causing havoc everywhere. And is soon followed up by Meikumon being the center point of this. And, well, apparently, I guess they had to figure out how to stop these evil corruptions and figure out what's going on with the digital world, which leads to it being reset. And does it sound like that? Does it sound like that I'm kind of pulling here? Does it sound like that we're frantically going to one thing or another? Tri does this a lot. Anyway, I don't know who the villain is for Digimon Tri. Like, is it Dark Genai? Is it Yggdrasil? Meikumon? Like, they kind of flip-flop with the villains, and it soon turned out that Dark Genai is kind of the villain as well as Drazel, but they don't really establish them until like the latter half of the series, and mostly Dark Genai just takes on Ken's form in this show in order to get to the real world, which doesn't make any sense, and that's one of the most confusing things that I've ever seen. Anyway, Dark Genai doesn't really affect the story until the latter half with no build-up. And sadly, this kind of pales in comparison with the Sentinels in the OG series and 97, because we see the Sentinels throughout the series as a threat. And in here, is Meikumon a threat? Well, yeah. She doesn't do anything until the latter half, since they're just going through the motions on their lives and stuff, which, alright. Kind of can't really read Meikumon at the end. Heck, what even is Meikumon? Tri got cancelled after a set of movies came out, and Last Evolution, a way better film, in my opinion, just does away with Tri's storyline and starts the reboot all over again, with no hints of Tri's story even happening. That's how confusing this soft reboot was. Barring the Meiko cameo in Last Evolution, and I don't even know who Meiko is as a character, really. She's just kind of there, and she actually is pretty cool when she does cool stuff, like she's an artist, and I don't know. The point is that she doesn't really do anything, and her being with the cast just kind of feels cheap, because what happened at the end of 02? She isn't the only one that has access to the digital world. Everyone on Earth has access to the digital world. What? Why only show her and not, other people that have... Why are people so confused that Digimon are... I guess Gemini is the true villain here, and he's interesting in most of the scenes that they are, even though he doesn't really talk that much, and it's presumed to be Ken, even though it's him using an avatar. I swear, this show is just making stuff up as it goes, man. And not in a good way. And here's the thing, I actually really like his conflicts with the characters. It's cool that Drazel created this dark avatar, and barring the creepy scene between them and Sora, ew. He would have been such an interesting villain if they explained what the heck happened to the digital world more clearly in both the sub and the dub, and I just never understood, or I just never understand what the heck happens in this show until now, apparently, because for some reason, to give you all context, at the end of the OG series and 02, everyone had access to Digimon on Earth. Yet in Digimon Tri, it just does a funny and just doesn't include any of 02's plot lines in it at all? What? No people know what Digimon are, apparently, or if they do, then they attack them, which doesn't make any sense because everybody has every kid in the world. Okay. Every kid in the world has a Digivice now. Everyone has it. Okay. Even the O2 cast are just nowhere to be found, and apparently they are the ones who kickstarted Tri's story by fighting King Drazel, the main villain, and Dark Gen. What? I seriously had to look up a wiki for that. The show just doesn't explain that until the last set. What is going on? Davis is literally missing. The O2 cast are missing in cryotubes, and nobody, not even the Digidestin, the OG Digidestin, are worried about them until Ty is like, huh, what? Davis? That's where you've been all along. Hello? What happened to Vmon? Oh yeah, Dark Genic possessed him. How did he get a hold of Vmon? How did they freaking possess Digimon in order to corrupt them? Did Drazel control them? I don't know. What happened to the rest of the O2 cast that Kari and TK knows about? They know about them. They're their friends. And they save each other from time to time in the O2 series. But they just freaking forgot about them? Freaking jerks. The more I think about Tri's plot, the more I just get confused. And it's not helping when Kari and TK are just not mentioning the O2 cast in this series from what I recall. Or they do, and I just can't remember if they do. Because they just have like brief scenes about the story, then just back to freaking school stuff or their own personal character conflicts, which had too much emphasis on, if that's the case. And poor Ken. Poor Ken. The original Digimon Emperor reduced to an avatar and just nowhere to be seen. Jeez, I feel so bad, man. I feel so bad. One of the best Digimon villains reduced to a testing tube that comes out of nowhere, yet along with Davis and the other O2 cast being... Oh, what? Are you freaking kidding me? That's not the real Jedi? That's a freaking avatar created by Drake? Wait. Dark Jedi was a fake all this time, created by Drazel in order to be a henchman? I don't even know anymore. What is going on? Apparently the O2 cast were, if I were to fill in the context, they were sealed in the FBI testing tubes via this frickin' bench, who discovered their plans and wanted to capture them so that she can fulfill her dream of reuniting with her Digimon. But in turn, the main villain, King Drazel, tricked her, and now she's trapped in the digital world forever. Great. Good stuff. She was actually pretty menacing, but she just wasn't really that great of a twist villain at all. Maybe. I honestly think that this is one of Tri's biggest issues. They just don't explain anything until the latter half, and they just don't elaborate on those answers, leaving us with more questions. And where's a search party? There's kids missing. How did the O2 cast find King Drazel? Why is Ty the only one showing concern and the other person had no clue about them? None of the other cast members had no clue about them, even TK and Kari? Why did they explain all of what I'm saying off screen and with an exposition dump told by Ty via this guy? I literally had to look up a wiki for all this. I apologize. That has been on my mind for so long. I just had to go off. Ugh. The Digimon, whenever they do get the screen time, are really cool though. I really like them. Hackmon, as well as Jessmon, is a real serious, and the only thing that progresses the story when they need it. They're my favorite character in this show, by the way. I really like Hackmon. Dark Jedi, the concept of Dark Jedi is really interesting. Like, I like his confrontation with Hackmon, and I like how he's being used as a puppet, as his purpose only to be an avatar for King Drazel. You guys don't understand this. When I watched the series and went to the wiki page, I literally was shocked. All of the information on the wiki was explained better than the actual show, which they probably did explain it really well in the show, but the writing was just so vague and so not interested in its own story that I don't even know what was happening. At least, I guess I was dumb in that regard, but I don't know. Like, I just felt confused. I just researched this now, and they don't even state this coherently in the show at all. And then there's the pure opposite of Drazel, homeostasis, which is the good part of the digital world that just wants to bring order and using Hackmon as its avatar, and I guess to a certain extent Kari, to maintain order. And that conflicts with King Drazel's plans to reset the digital world in order for the Digimon to not be with their partners anymore. By the way, that line that I just said was explained in a wiki, not in the show itself. Never once do they explain that this was Drazel's plan all along. All they just keep on doing is that Drazel's gonna repeat the digital world and it's gonna save us. I don't know, man. I don't know. This show is just too crazy for me. Also, King Drazel wants to destroy the bonds between the Digimon and their partners? Whoa. Okay, that's a lot of information, first off. And yet Tri doesn't even explain itself in its slower moments about any of this at all. Like, only having more of the cast just move on or take care of their Digimon or just talk about other important junk. It was up to Leomon to finally talk about this. And even then it didn't even explain that well, because Leomon just talked about it, the same information that we've been regurgitated to via the intro for the show. And I had to have a wiki to help me out and understand all this. The writing is just so vague in Tri, man. The characters just feel so vague that like they just don't really care about the story. And if they don't care, then I don't care. I don't know why it's so vague compared to the original series, because the original series was simple. It was really freaking simple. Like, go to this part of the digital world and defeat the evil Digimon. That's it. That's the original series. And its subsequent subplots and stuff. It was that simple. What happened? What the heck happened? The cast Digimon are really sweet and cool, though. The action in this series is sadly sparse, but whenever they do action, it's really well done. I really like the action in this show, since it's very different. And furthermore, Kari, Mimi, and even... who's this guy's name? Daigo? Yeah, the exposition dump guy. Daigo. I actually really like Daigo and Mimi and Kari and stuff. They're really sweet, and it's nice to see them again. Leomon is also really cool too, and they did him dirty. They did him and Trollmon real dirty, man. Poor Leomon. The finale is really cool. I like the scenes with Omnimon with them. Like, it's nice to see Summer Wars representation. It's really cool. But I just think that it was severely underdeveloped and had cool moments, music, and set pieces, but ultimately they used these new ideas and new continuities in modern Digimon and just Like, we gotta put Drazel in there. We gotta do a cool anime thing in one scene and fulfill the characters' arcs without pacing it properly. And man, I really wish that they developed it better. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have a bad time with it. I actually had a really good time with it. It had a lot of cool moments, and as I said, the characters did shine a lot, especially TK. And I'm really glad that TK kind of won me over, because his development with Patamon was really sweet and really wholesome, and it was really heartbreaking when we actually get to see a Digimon attack their partner for the first ever time in this series. Other than Tamers, of course. But yeah, it's great. I'm kind of glad that they learned their lesson and gave us Last Evolution instead, which is a very great Digimon movie. And you pretty much don't have to watch Tri in order to watch Last Evolution, even though it kind of takes place after Tri. You don't have to watch Tri for that one. They learned their mistakes. Props to both the teams that gave us Xmen 97 and Digimon Tri from all of their hard work. I truly love it. At the end of the day, both of these shows is a work of art. Art is meant to be taken differently. Art is meant to be taken differently, and I think it's really cool that I have different thoughts on both these shows. I highly recommend that you watch these shows too to form your own opinion, like what I have done. But that's for you to ultimately decide. I prefer Xmen 97 personally because it does the soft reboot angle better. Because, unlike Tri, it doesn't kidnap half the gosh darn X-Men cast only to focus on Cyclops and Wolverine for frick's sake. I've been Metal Silver, and it's time to sign out. I'm gonna go to the digital world and catch myself a Digimon. Well, not catch, just be friends with one. Later.